What if the very thing you're holding on to is the exact thing that's holding you back? Let that question echo for a second. You've tried, you've pushed, you've planned every detail down to the second. You've visualized, affirmed, controlled, recalculated, and still, something isn't moving, something isn't opening. And maybe, just maybe, it's not because you're doing it wrong, but because you're trying too hard to hold it all together. Sometimes holding on is the lock, and letting go is the key. There's a tension deep inside you, not always visible, but always there. A quiet clench in your jaw when things don't go as expected. A subtle tightening in your chest when life veers off your map. A tired ache in your stomach that whispers, I have to fix this, I have to make this work. But what if? What if the universe has been waiting for you to release the wheel? Spiritual power isn't about control, it's not about effort. It's about resonance, and nothing resonates louder than surrender. The Tao teaches us that water flows because it doesn't resist. It doesn't force its way forward. It yields, it bends, it trusts the path carved before it. What if your next breakthrough isn't in pushing harder, but in stepping back, softening and letting the current carry you? This is not weakness. This is not giving up. This is alignment. Magnetic, sacred alignment with the field that sees beyond your fear and your logic. When you let go, really let go, something remarkable begins to move, not because you made it happen, but because you finally made space for it to happen. And if there's even a flicker in you that's curious, a whisper that wonders, could this be true for me too? Stay with me, because in the next section, we're going to open up what really lives beneath this need to control. We'll peel back the layers of energetic exhaustion that are quietly draining your soul and reveal how trying to force life into shape is the very thing that's keeping you stuck. This next part might feel like someone reading your inner dialogue out loud, because it is. So take a breath and let's keep going. The energetic exhaustion behind control. There's a fatigue that doesn't show up on medical scans, a weight that doesn't always have language. It's the kind of exhaustion that builds slowly, quietly under the surface. The exhaustion of trying to hold everything together when deep down you know something's slipping through your fingers. The body knows it before the mind does. Your shoulders tense when things feel uncertain. Your breath shortens when something doesn't go as planned. Your stomach tightens when life refuses to match your expectations. These aren't random stress responses. These are your soul's signals, telling you that what you're trying to force isn't aligned with what's ready to flow. Let me explain. Every time you attempt to push reality into a shape it's not meant to take, you create friction. And that friction shows up in your field, in your mood, in your energy, in your interactions. Bruce Lipton describes how chronic stress literally rewires the body's cellular environment. In simpler terms, the more you try to control, the more you shift your biology into survival, not creation. Here's the thing most people never realize. Effort without energetic harmony becomes resistance. You can do all the right things, take the courses, write the affirmations, visualize your goals, but if underneath it all, you're still clenching, nothing moves, nothing flows, because the frequency you emit is tension, not trust. And that's the invisible wall. The one that so many spiritual seekers slam into. They say, I'm doing the work. Why isn't it working? And the answer, whispered softly beneath the noise, is this: because you're still trying to make it happen, instead of letting it unfold. Pause for a moment. Feel your body. Notice if there's any part of you still gripping to outcomes, to timelines, to the idea that you need to make it happen. That subtle grip is the energetic block, and awareness is the first crack in its armor. But what if the most powerful truth was hiding where you never thought to look? Now we'll begin to shift the lens completely. We're going to look at surrender not as weakness, but as a magnetic frequency, a force field of alignment that calls in exactly what your effort could never reach. Let's go deeper into what happens when you finally stop forcing and start allowing. Surrender as a magnetic frequency. Most people think surrender means losing power, that it's passive, that it's weak. But the truth is, surrender is one of the most potent energetic invitations you can send to the universe. It's not about giving up. It's about opening up to what you couldn't see, to what you couldn't plan, to what was waiting all along. Joe Dispenza teaches that the heart becomes coherent, truly balanced, only when we release the need to control. That coherence isn't just emotional peace, it's magnetic alignment. When you let go of trying to make life bend to your will, your energy stops fighting the current and begins flowing with the river. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop gripping. Because when you grip, you shrink your field, you tighten your frequency, you block the very things you're trying to attract. And ironically, when you surrender, when you stop trying to force, you expand. You become the space where possibility lives. Here's the process, broken down. The universe doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to openness, to space, to frequency. Every time you release control, even a little, you create a vibrational opening, a softening. And in that softening, the quantum field begins to shift. Not by logic, but by resonance. You've seen it before. You just didn't know how to read it. That moment when you finally stopped chasing someone and they called. When you gave up trying to solve a problem and the solution appeared. When you stopped needing an answer and it found you. That wasn't coincidence. That was coherence. Let me give you an image. A clenched fist can't receive. It's closed. Protective, fearful, but an open palm is a signal of trust. It says, I'm ready. That's what surrender does. It turns you from a clenched fist into an open channel, from effort into flow. Now I know that letting go can feel scary, especially when so much feels uncertain, but what if the fear isn't about surrender itself, but about what you think it means? In the next chapter, we'll unravel the hidden fear behind control. We'll shine light on why it feels so hard to release and what's really driving that tension beneath the surface. What you discover might surprise you and set you free. The hidden fear that keeps you gripping. You're not gripping because you're strong. You're gripping because you're scared. And that fear doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. But until you see it, until you name it, it keeps whispering in the background, quietly shaping every decision, every delay, every doubt. Let's bring it to the surface. Underneath the urge to control is often a deep fear of collapse. Fear that if you stop trying, everything will fall apart. Fear of being too late, of missing your moment, of choosing wrong. Fear of being forgotten, abandoned, unseen. And above all, fear that if you don't hold it together, no one else will. But here's the hard truth, spoken with softness, that fear isn't truth. It's memory. Somewhere along the way, you learned that being safe meant being in charge. That love had to be earned, that if you didn't take care of everything, no one would. So you overfunctioned, you overcommitted, you overcontrolled. And that's why letting go feels terrifying, not because surrender is dangerous, but because it touches the very wound where you stopped trusting the invisible. Edgar Cayce once said, "Faith is not believing, it's aligning with the invisible truth. Not blind hope, not passive waiting, but a conscious choice to trust what you cannot yet see. To lean into the unknown, not as chaos, but as sacred intelligence." Let me give you a picture. Imagine you're holding a rope tightly, even though your hands are burning. The longer you grip, the more it hurts. But you think letting go means falling. What if letting go doesn't make you fall? What if it sets you free? The tighter you hold, the more life resists, because control tells the universe, I don't trust your timing. But flow says, I may not know how, but I believe there's a wisdom greater than mine. Pause for a moment. Breathe. Ask yourself softly, what am I really afraid will happen if I let go? Don't rush the answer. Let it come from the place beneath your thoughts, the place that remembers what it's like to be held. We're going even deeper in the next chapter. We'll explore how the myths around surrender have shaped the way you resist it, and why most of what you've been taught about letting go has actually kept you stuck. You might discover that what you thought was weakness is actually where your greatest power lives, the myths about spiritual surrender. Let's get something clear. Surrender doesn't mean you sit back and accept whatever life throws at you. That's not surrender, that's resignation, and they are not the same. One is rooted in power, the other in defeat. So many of us resist surrender because we've been taught it means giving up, like it's passive, like it's weak. But that's a myth, a deeply ingrained one. Real surrender isn't letting go of your power, it's choosing to use it differently. It's saying, I trust the deeper current even when I don't understand the tide. Spiritual surrender is not about saying yes to everything. It's about saying yes to what aligns and releasing what doesn't. It's not about becoming a doormat to life. It's about becoming a doorway for the right things to enter. Let me give you an example. Think of a dancer. They're not controlling every movement of the music. They're flowing with it. They have structure, yes, but within that structure, there's surrender. They listen, they adjust, they trust their steps will find the rhythm, even if they don't know where it's going next. That's surrender, not silence, not stillness, but listening deeply and moving with intention. There's another myth, that surrender means you'll lose what matters to you. But what if the opposite is true? What if you only lose what wasn't aligned to begin with, and what's truly for you rises once you stop chasing what was never meant to stay? Surrender is a recalibration. It's a shift from resistance to receptivity, from I have to control to I choose to trust. It doesn't mean you stop creating. It means you stop forcing. You move from urgency to awareness. Here's something practical. Surrender is not a one-time act. It's a daily practice of tuning in, feeling what contracts your energy, and choosing again and again to let go of what weighs you down. And now that you've made it this far into the video, I want to thank you, truly, for showing up with presence, for opening yourself to this message. Take a moment right now to tell us in the comments if you've ever been through a moment like this. A moment where surrender changed everything. Your story might be the lifeline someone else needs today. And if this message has touched something inside you, we'd love for you to be part of our community. Subscribe to the channel. You're not just joining a page, you're joining a path, a space where depth, clarity, and transformation are lived together. In the next chapter, we'll shift from the conceptual to the practical. You'll be guided through a ritual, a symbolic process to actually feel, release, and rewire the parts of you still gripping. This is where surrender becomes embodied. This is where things begin to move, the release integration ritual. You can understand surrender in theory, you can even believe in its beauty, but until you feel it in your body, until you practice releasing, it stays as an idea, not a shift. Surrender isn't just something you think about, it's something you do with your breath, your hands, your heart. Let's walk through a process together. It's simple, but don't confuse simple with small. This kind of ritual speaks to the subconscious, and that's where the transformation truly lives. Step 1, name what you're gripping. Be honest. Is it a relationship that's already closed, a version of yourself you've outgrown, an outcome you keep chasing even though it keeps slipping further away? Don't just name the thing, name the fear behind it. That's where the root lives. Is it the fear of being alone, the fear of failing, the fear of losing control? Identify it, and you begin to loosen its hold. Step 2. Create a symbolic act of release. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be real to you. Write it down, then burn the paper or tear it up. Speak it aloud under the sky. Walk barefoot and let the earth take it. Breathe deeply and exhale like you're sending it back into the field. Ritual isn't about superstition. It's about signaling to your nervous system that something has shifted. Step 3. Replace the void with a new vibration. Whisper a mantra that holds the frequency of trust. Something like, I allow space for what is aligned. Or, I don't chase, I attract what belongs. Let the words wash over you. Let them land in your cells. Let them become part of your emotional memory. This isn't about one magical moment. It's about repetition. Every time you pause and do this, even briefly, you dissolve another layer of the old program. The one that said control is the only way. The one that forgot how to trust. And over time, surrender stops feeling like letting go and starts feeling like coming home. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to start with honesty, with softness, with presence. Let's go even deeper in the next part of our journey. We're going to explore what happens in the energetic field when you let go. How divine timing begins to accelerate not by your force, but by your permission. You'll begin to understand that letting go isn't just emotional, it's magnetic. When letting go accelerates divine timing. There's a sacred paradox in the spiritual field, one that confuses the mind but liberates the soul. The moment you stop chasing is the moment things begin to move. You've probably felt this without knowing what to call it. That strange acceleration after a long period of stuckness. That unexpected solution that appeared only after you surrendered trying to figure it out. That phone call, that message, that invitation, that came when you finally said, I'm done forcing this. Why does it happen like that? Because what you delay with control, you accelerate with surrender. Non-resistance doesn't mean passivity. It's not about doing nothing. It's about releasing the inner fight. When your energy stops pushing against what is, the field responds by aligning with what can be. Let me give you a different metaphor. Think of planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You water, you wait, you trust the unseen work beneath the soil. That trust is not laziness, it's cooperation with timing. The universe operates the same way. When you release your need to micromanage every detail, you give divine timing the space to unfold. And timing isn't just about when, it's about readiness, energetic readiness. Sometimes the thing you want is already waiting, but your frequency hasn't softened enough to receive it. You're still in the energy of striving, and striving repels what surrender magnetizes. The field is always responding, not to your words, but to your state. When you are open, receptive, grounded in presence, your signal shifts. You stop sending out scarcity and begin radiating trust. And trust is irresistible to the intelligence of the universe. Pause for a moment. Feel that. You don't need to chase what's already yours. You just need to allow space for it to arrive. Just now, we'll challenge a deep belief most of us carry. The idea that we have to push to progress. You'll discover that true growth doesn't come from force, but from permission. And we'll explore how even nature itself has always known this truth. It's just waiting for you to remember. You don't have to push, you have to permit. There's a lie we've been taught, and we've lived it for so long it started to feel like truth, that the more you push, the more you achieve. That hustle equals worth. That effort is the only currency that counts. But what if life works differently? What if alignment is the real force and effort is just the echo? The Matrix teaches more force equals more result. But look around, nature tells a different story. Trees don't push themselves to grow. Rivers don't scream to reach the ocean. The seed doesn't force itself open. It allows, and yet it becomes exactly what it was meant to be, in perfect time, with perfect power. Here's the shift. You don't have to make it happen. You have to let it happen. There's a difference. Making comes from fear. Letting comes from trust. One contracts, the other expands. Let me offer this. Letting go is not abandoning the vision. It's allowing the vision to meet you in its own way. It's becoming the version of you that's not exhausted by effort, but nourished by clarity. It's the difference between controlling life and collaborating with it. Every time you release the belief that you have to push, you open space for grace. Grace isn't magical thinking. It's the intelligence that lives in surrender. It's the momentum that builds when your energy stops resisting what wants to flow. Here's something to reflect on. Where in your life are you still trying to bloom by force? Where are you pressing harder, even though the soil feels dry? Where might things begin to grow? If you just stepped back, you're not giving up, you're syncing up. Now take a breath, not just in your lungs, but in your whole field. Let that settle, let that land. And if this message is resonating, if something in you feels seen, softened, understood, let us know in the comments. Your voice matters here. This is a community of seekers, feelers, and frequency shifters, and your experience could mirror someone else's awakening. In the final part of this journey, we'll anchor everything we've explored into a closing that's not just words, but a frequency. A reminder of your power not to control, but to co-create. Stay with me. We're almost home. Let go and watch the universe rush in. You've arrived, not just at the end of a video, but at the edge of a different way of being. Let go and watch the universe rush in. Let that sentence echo. Let it become more than a phrase. Let it become a choice. Ask yourself, softly but clearly, what am I still holding on to that's aching to be released? Is it a story, an identity, a timeline that no longer aligns? What if the peace you crave isn't in finding the answer, but in releasing the grip? You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to fix it all. You don't even have to know what's next. You just have to stop resisting what wants to move through you, because surrender isn't stopping. Surrender is flow. Surrender is presence. Surrender is power of a different kind. Letting go isn't losing yourself. It's returning to the part of you that always knew how to trust. The part that remembers, even when your mind forgets, that everything arrives when the field is clear. That the right things are magnetized not by effort, but by coherence. And if you've felt a shift, even a small one, from watching this, thank you for your presence, for your attention, for your energy. Thank you for walking this stretch of the path with us. You've made it this far, and that means something. That means you're ready for more. Take a moment and share with us in the comments. What touched you in this video? What did you let go of, even just a little? Your words don't just land in silence, they ripple through others who are also learning to trust the flow. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, not for numbers, but for the resonance, for the reminder that you're not walking this alone. There's a space here for those who feel deeply, question quietly, and evolve constantly. Leave a like if this message met you where you are. And don't stop here. The next video waiting for you goes even deeper into the process of inner alchemy and vibrational realignment. You'll find it right here on Echoes of the Path. Let this be the final breath of this moment. You are not at the mercy of the outer world. You are the field that transforms what vibrates around you. The moment you release is the moment you receive.